So we decided for that so-called LTO, linear tape open system, which is combined with a system of servers implementing a so-called digital workflow. So we digitize the data from old original videotapes, for example, and then an uncompressed version of the data, they go to the LTO machines, and compressed versions, they were put on the servers. And that compressed MPEG files on the servers, they are a kind of main memory from which data can be called upon for DVDs, viewing copies, for exhibitions, and for the new audiovisual seating arrangements. So that was the old system, and the public can have access to the video and audio collection in the so-called media lounge with that seats, and the bulbs, you can see the white bulbs were created by a known French artist, Le Courchen, for the audio collection. But the new system, the new storage system of ZKM, is not nearly as visual appealing as the old jukebox and the audio-visual seats created by, as I mentioned, Le Courchen. But it is at all more flexible, and that's a very important issue. The old system, with all its hardware and complicated cabling, was immobile. Under the new system, user stations can be installed anywhere, since the server is accessible to the ZKM's network. The new user stations are not only to be found in the Media Lounge, but also in the Media Museum and potentially in any location that is able to connect the server. The new system becomes mobile, and you can see some of the interfaces for the popular public and for the scientific public. And now the focus is not on the design of the seats, it's more on the design of the user interfaces. The video collection of the ZKM is not yet endangered. The master tapes nearly all originate from the 80s and the 90s and are stored under optimal conditions of a museum and of the international museum standards. The necessary machines are there standby and are still available on the market today. So, works like from Wolf Forstel, Peter Weibel, or Nam June Paik, they are stored under optimal conditions up to the last 20 years. Because of this, the ZKM has begun to build up a collection of, I forgot. I have to come back to the archives, which we received from artists or from their relatives in the last 5 years, with formats dating from the early times of video, from the 60s and the 70s of the last century. The tapes are often modded and stuck together in parts. They are very fragile. In order to render them playable again, the original machines must be put in place. Because of this, ZKM has begun to build up a collection of historical devices alongside its media art collection. So, and there are a couple of freaks in ZKM which are completely addicted to the collection of old machines. And therefore ZKM becomes now a very good customer at eBay and at the flea market surrounding ZKM. The devices can be used for presenting media art in the museum on the one hand, or for the playback tapes for restoration and digitization on the other. So it's not a collection to show in the museum, it's a collection to use it for the artworks. Currently, there are approximately 400 machines available. Of these, 20 machines are permanently ready to be put into use, playback and subsequently digitized for 45 different video formats. So I list on all the formats we received with the archives, and it looks a bit like a labyrinth, and it is indeed. The ZKM carries out the restoration and digitization of historical video art in 2 large research projects. You can read the title, so I don't have to repeat. The first project was directed by Rudolf Frieling. Today he is the creator of media art at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. And the second project was undertaken by Christoph Blaser. He is the head of the ZKM Laboratory for Antiquated Video Systems. Both projects were published in conjunction with scientific publications and DVD editions. And the DVD editions was the basis for a couple of exhibitions, and I assume that one of the exhibitions was presented in the Digital Arts Center here in Taipei. Both projects provide information on single artworks of video and on the kind of restoration and conservation. In both projects, new standards were developed for the treatment of historical video art. Despite of that old video formats, the sculptural media installations with many hardware components and tailored programming, like installations from Nam June Paik or Fabrizio Plessi, are a greater problem to conserve. Video seems to be easy to conserve and to restore after collecting all the machines you need to play them. But the video installations, they are really a challenge. The device's age, new appliance such as television takes on other dimensions like flat screens, and in many cases the source codes become inaccessible. The preservation is tightly bound up with renewal, from which arises questions of rights and questions surrounding the originality, uniqueness, and the aura of a copy. In collaboration with several European institutions, other research projects was executed focused on any kind of multimedia installations to develop common standards of methods and documentation. And it was a wide range from Boy's Fat Corner to interactive net installations. The results were issued in February 2011, with the publication you can see on the slide. The project was successfully carried out in the years between 2005 and 2007 in collaboration projects including 33 museums, institutions, and universities. So you can see the problem isn't solved by one institution. We need a network to solve the institution of restoration and conservation of new media art. Participating were, among others, the Tate of London, the Museo Nacional Centro de Arte Reina Sofía in Madrid, the Stedelijk Museum of Aktuelle Kunst in Ghent, and the Foundation of the Conservation of Contemporary Art in the Netherlands. The ZKM participated with a key study on the work of media art taken from its own collection. It was the large-scale sculpture Liquid Time from 1989 by the well-known Italian artist Fabrizio Plessi. The video sculpture is constituted of more than 100 pieces and combines virtual water with real water. The technical equipment originated in 1993, and for the construction at the ZKM in 2004, 11 years later, the technology remained the same. All that was changed, so we tried to set it up in the original shape, and all that was changed was the Laserdisc player, because it was lost and we can't find the original Laserdisc player again. After a runtime of almost 2 years in the museum, disturbances began to appear on the monitors. Attempts were made to solve the problem through radio-transmitted video signal by integrating the player into the large water wheel. But however, the ZKM finally decided to change the video system, even if we discussed all the question of originality of the art piece. A flashcard player was equipped with a flashcard on which a digital copy of the video sequences was stored on the Laserdisc. That's very technical, I know. In the view, In the new digitized version of the videos, it became clear that those videos, until then shown in black and white, had originally been taken in color. That was a surprise for us and for the artists too. However, due to the steel construction of the video sculpture, a magnetic field emerged, which causes image interferences and an automatic shift from color to black and white. So now the challenge was to avoid that magnetic field and to bring back the video from black and white to the originated colored version. So that was a technical challenge, but it was also combined with a high investment. I can't explain, because I'm not a technician, how it was installed within the tubes of the monitors. So we have to save the original TVs, and we have to save the original tubes in the TVs. And it was a long procedure of research and of restoration to get back that colored version of the videos. The question of conservation touched not only on art historical or restoration aspects, but on the financial matters and on the balance sheets as well. For example, ZKM produced Jill Scott's work Digital Body and invested approximately 200,000 euros in the originate version of this artwork. After years, hardware and software has gone, so we have to be aware that the artwork disappeared. And to bring back the artwork to the audience, we have to invest again in hardware and in software, in a new programming, and in a new collaboration with the artist. And we have to invest approximately 100,000 euros again. We have to discuss it with our founders that we need a budget every year to renew our collection, and that's a big difference compared to a normal museum, which owns a collection, and in the best case, the value of the collection increases over the period of 50 years. So if museums collect very early the Impressionist art, now they have a high valued collection. If you collect art of the digital age, you might have a problem to save not only the artworks, but also the value of the artworks. So, and we started a new research project, the digital media art in the Upper Rhine Valley, with partners from France and from Switzerland. And we start up to conserve and to restore our own digital artworks like the Legible City, which is an icon of interactive art. And there's a very important fact that due to financial matters, sometimes we use the equipment for 2 or more installations. Though there is no especially dedicated equipment for Legible City, we use it also for the Perry Hoberman installation. So, and there is, unfortunately, no documentation of all the changes. Of course, Jeffrey Shaw has been the head of the Institute of Visual Media in ZKM, and as artist, he runs the permanently changes in his work. And he wasn't aware that he should make a precisely documentary for the restoration department. Of course, ZKM was set up as an institution for the future, not for the past. And now we are confronted that we produce past with the production of art. So we have to change the mind in ZKM and to be aware that we have to be in the future, of course, and also in the past, and to store all the media art we produced or we collected for the next generation. So for the both installations I mentioned before, we use a common SGI. Of course, the SGI machine was very expensive in the early 19th, so we have to use it for several installations. in cooperation with partners, such as the Documenta Archive, ZKM has also initiated a fundamental development on the subject of archive and databases. In the project Media Art Base, and that's the last example I will report to you, that's a sign to the technique. In the project Media Art Base, restoration and digitization of historical and contemporary image and sounds, that's the title of the project, is an exemplary data bank structure for a media art archive and for an archive of time-based art. The technological of Media Art Base is predominantly based on open source software and so can be used by other archives or institutions too. The data banks of various archives then cluster into a network so as to make the media art of many archives publicly accessible online. It was in this way that with the use of the newest media, the largest dislocated media museum could be created worldwide, and all the archives maybe today present participating on our conference are invited to take part on that network of archives. And we try to support that network with that special media art base project focused on the media art. So you can see how complicated it is to set up such a database. And we are on the very early start to do it. And it will be, even if it looks so dry, a very important step to the future and to the conservation of media art and to the accessible of media art worldwide, we hope. So, I received many signs that now the time is over, and I would like to conclude my presentation by this example, taken from the experience of ZKM and maybe other institutions. And I hope to have conveyed you just how complex and challenging the treatment of media art is, but also how dynamic and exciting and how important it is. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your patience, and hope to see you again in Germany, on the rim of Germany in Karlsruhe. Thank you very much.